G'day gentlemen. In this video, I'm going to be interviewing Badham. Now, I just want to show men out there how these people lie and actually get away with a lot of things that they say. They are extremely manipulative and they use statistics, selective statistics, like a child that uses selective hearing, selective statistics to push forth their agenda.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, my name is Badham.
Hello. You look like Anita Sarkeesian. Are you related to her by any chance?
And on Monday night, I went on Q&A,
Well, on Monday night, I actually went out with my mates.
where a young man whose 23-year-old sister was brutally murdered by her partner last January asked this question of the panel. How will politicians and the media play a better role in bringing about long overdue cultural shifts so tragedies like what happened to my family are not normalised? The key word here is normalised, and what it implies is that there's a cultural acceptance that violence against women is something unexceptional, unremarkable, and something that we don't need to really care about.
If my memory serves me correct, he said that he was working as an ambassador for White Ribbon. Let's just check that.
I work as an ambassador for Our Watch, White Ribbon and the Safe Steps Family Violence Response Centre.
Number one, White Ribbon is a corrupt institution, corrupt organisation.
Now, I think a lot of people who were watching Q&A got a shock that while I was trying to answer this question, Steve Price, my co-panellist, spoke over me 13 times.
It's because men like Steve Price and Mark Latham can see you coming from a mile away. All you do is regurgitate the same old man-hating narrative, using selective statistics, especially selective statistics about domestic violence.
Trying to shift the conversation back to him, his feelings, his attitude.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I think it was very surprising for a lot of people to see a man in that context speak down to me like that, and also to insult me and attempt to humiliate me by denigrating my opinions as hysterical.
You snotty little bastard.
Maybe he should have just called you a snotty little bastard. That would have been a lot better. You know, not calling you hysterical, even when you're being hysterical.
It's actually a really good illustration of what the questioner was talking about, how we normalise attitudes towards women, and how important it is that cultural leaders, like people in the media, show deference and respect the disadvantage of women that does manifest in a cultural experience of discrimination and disrespect, that foments the kind of attitudes that normalise violence against women.
Look, Van, I'll give you the last say on this program, but why don't you be honest and talk about all abuse in domestic relationships rather than nitpicking, cherry picking, to give you the results that you want? Why not disclose the fact that 21 fathers commit suicide per week in Australia as a result of domestic violence by women against men? There's plenty of research done by professors that clearly indicate when domestic violence related suicides are combined with domestic violence homicides, the total numbers of domestic violence related deaths are higher for males than females. Get that through your thick skull. What's the media doing about that? What is government doing about that? You, Andrew O'Keefe, Walid Ali are nothing but a disgrace. And
the way you described it is actually the issue by choosing to describe her as hysterical. When you used that word, were you aware just how loaded that term is? Were you aware of the overtone?
Your manipulation is contributing not only to the deaths of fathers in Australia, but also our sons and daughters.
And I mention this in the context of this week, where Steve Price has appeared on the radio several times, denigrating me personally, disrespecting me, refusing to apologise for the insult that he levelled at me on Monday night, went on the project to accuse me of being an aggressive woman.
You're not only a very passive-aggressive woman, you're also very manipulative.
His demonisation of me over the past couple of days is another excellent example of how cultural messaging works.
I think the problem is when someone gives you the facts, you can't handle the truth.
Because in the wake of how Steve Price has been acting since Q&A, this is the kind of feedback I've received on the internet. She needs a hole drilled in her ass so she can be carried around like a bowling ball. I'd smack the bitch in the mouth. I'd do it to a guy, and equal rights means I can do it to a girl. With a mouth like that, I'm surprised she hasn't become a victim of DV herself. Maybe if Van Badhag got something up hers, she may not be such a cranky twat waffler. Now, if her husband beat her up, I'd have to say, good on him. I honestly pray for your death every day. I'd do anything to stop this. People like you are disgusting, entitled, and yes, hysterical.
Wow, a public figure getting about 5 comments from a show that was watched by millions of people and playing the victim card again and again. You're not hysterical, you're an imbecile.